Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pon Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Well, that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
And there we are. We are live with episode 448 of the Trinity Force Podcast. We are running behind this evening. For those of you listening to the podcast, you don't care because you just push it up here.
It's Mitch's fault.
God damn it, Mitch.
That's right. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in to talk about League of Legends discussion, which is quite different than what we normally do. But we've got quite a bit to talk about tonight. Should spend a little bit of time on some of the support items as well. Champion changes and starting items. And that's where we are going to head off this podcast, is with the starting items. As Doran's Ring and Doran's Shield both got a change in this patch. The bigger of the two being that Doran's Ring is no longer stackable, essentially. The mana return while killing minions is now unique. Yeah.
Hooray!
It's a positive change. A lot of people are freaking out and saying, like, oh my god, this totally kills Galio. And I really I don't agree with that. I feel like all the champions that were using this were actually just abusing it because it was really strong. And so it adds a little bit of parity for the champions that couldn't utilize it. But it doesn't make the champs that were abusing this suddenly weak or something.
Right, they're not going to disappear. But, I mean, anything that nerfs tanks is a win in my book.
I mean, to be honest, like Doran's Ring is the only Doran's item that gets reliably stacked probably every single game by at least one character. Like, it honestly needed to have that be unique because
I can't believe it went this long without being unique. Like, it's not like Doran's Shield ever had a passive similar to that, but like, let's say it was the damage reduction on it. It's not like Doran's Shield ever had that be a non-unique passive where you could stack it.
Yeah, this doesn't change the landscape of League. It just makes champions have to play like normal champions, right? And if anything, it just allows Galio to get to those tankier items faster.
It's like a game health change, and like if a character's suddenly less good because they can't abuse this, then they weren't healthy to begin with. So fuck them.
Yeah,
like
I assume that the mana returned was balanced around the option to stack it. So I'd be interested to see if they actually touch on that amount of mana in a later patch. Not double it, but I don't know, maybe increase it by a point or two.
Riot has done a very good job of making it so that you don't want to stack Doran's items anymore. They did it with Doran's Blade a while back, where they changed up how it worked, and you no longer want to stack the item because you put yourself too far behind for the return that you get on it. Doran's Ring was the only one where mana is so hard to get outside of support items, as Dom graciously pointed out to me earlier today, that people were stacking it because of that reason, or mana regen, or mana return, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Doran's Ring is the only non-support item that gives just base mana regen. There are other items in the game that give you like mana regen conditionally, but aside from all the stuff that's in the support suite, we'll call it, like Doran's Ring is the only way to get mana regen.
So they've also changed Doran's Shield in this patch, so that now it's 50 gold more expensive, meaning you only get to walk out with one potion instead of two. Still, again, it doesn't really change the landscape of anything, because that passive on Doran's Shield was already strong enough. I know playing out of bottom lane, I actually liked being poked by like a Caitlyn, for example, just a regular auto attack, because I got more life back than the damage she was doing in the early game.
Again, there were times where you would get Doran's Shield in 2 pots, and I felt like the 2 pots were overkill. Like, I don't need all of this regen. It's just...
It sucks that you guys feel that way about bot lane, because in top lane, I felt like the 2 pots felt appropriate to me, honestly, for the item. That might be because I main a character who's kind of weak early and like benefited a lot from the 2 potions, but like on top of the item's passive. But
sure,
it kind of gave characters who didn't take teleport an alternative to stay in lane for an extended period.
So you think really not having that second potion is going to be like a huge throw down on them again?
Well, I think not running teleport was like a thing. when you had the 2 potions. I think without the 2 potions, I think not running teleport for some people is going to be too hard again.
Nothing has really changed. I mean, I'm sure top lane, some of the way people are starting, obviously Doran Shield being very, very good against a lot of champions, but a lot of people have gotten along without having Doran Shield for so long that giving Doran Shield the ability to go into bottom lane and still have some counterplay around it makes it a balanced item, because it's one of those items where it's like all or nothing, right? Like you sit in forever in top lane if you have it, and then bottom lane gets nothing out of it, and they still have to go, then you can't play those more riskier picks. So this actually opens the landscape up for a bunch of different champions to be able to be played. Because you were playing Garen without the Doran Shield previous to this change where we got the 2 pots and the unique passive. So you're used to playing around it. A lot of people should be. I just like that they gave this passive to it. They made it a little more expensive, and now that we can open landscape to more champions. Overall, it's a good change rather than there being anything terrible about it.
What I like about it for bot lane is that it now makes the choice between Doran's Blade and Doran's Shield one you actively think about, and you say, okay, I'm up against these opponents and this is my teammate down there. Which of these is the better item given the context of those circumstances? Whereas up to this point, like it was Doran's Blade for a really long time, and then for what, a patch, 2 patches, whatever it was, then it was Doran's Shield. Like that was the go-to one. And a lot of people haven't even figured out that Doran's Shield was that good out of bot lane yet. Like in the lower, in the bronze silver range for sure. Like a lot of people were still just buying Doran's Blade because that's what they were used to doing. And I want this to have some time to settle before they do additional work on it. If they even need to do anything. But I'd like to see this settle and see people actually figure out, like, okay, I get to make a choice here. Do I want the security of Doran's Shield, or do I want to be aggressive with Doran's Blade?
Yep. So there's your two starting items. Also, just for those of you out there that may not know what it is in your inventory, your fillable potion has a new icon. You can see it in the screen right here. It's not a big change, but just in case you wondered what that was in people's inventory.
Huge buff. I'm gonna buy that more from now on.
I hear a lot of people say, I hate the icon. It's fucking awful. I want the old icon back. You just hate change. That's all it is. But let's go ahead and talk about the support items. Those are likely the largest changes in this patch. As most of the champion changes, we can kind of go, okay, we see where those are coming from. As Locket, Redemption, and Zeke's all got pretty large changes on top of Athene's and more. So we'll just start right at the... Well, we'll start at the top here with Redemption and talk about that. Dom, do you want
me to take it?
Do you want to lead the charge?
Sure. So Redemption's had some significant changes because the item was, and still is, but was really, really strong, and the support landscape had at a point where it was, for just about every champion, rush Redemption and then rush Locket, or rush Locket and then get Redemption right thereafter and everything. I mean, like, those were the 2 items that in almost every single game that almost every single support was getting. There might be some exceptions for like the Brands and the Vel'Kozes of the world, but those are minimally played supports relative to the rest of the field. So Redemption had its base health reduced from 300 to 200, had its base health regen reduced from 75% increase to 50% increase, had the base mana regen bumped up from 125% to 150%, and then the base heal amount went from 65 to 490 based on the target's level to 30 to 370 based on the target's level, which sounds like a lot, but the next thing I'm about to read will change your perception of that. Redemption's heal amount is now affected 3 times as much by heal and shield powered amplifiers. And so, yeah, it unquestionably ate a nerf if you are looking at just the base heal amount. And even if you are looking at just the base heal and shield amount that you get from Redemption itself, it ultimately ate a nerf of about 100 health restored. If the target's level is 18, obviously that's going to be lower. It starts out at 39 health and scales all the way up to 431. It's when you hit the 20% shield and heal mark, which, if you are a support taking Windspeaker's Blessing, you will have the moment you buy Redemption. If you take that, it breaks even when the target with the old redemption when the target is at level 16, because both will restore will restore 528 health. Looks like I made a typo there. That should have been 560. Sorry, Adam. If you have a PDF there. But and then from there, it's going. Redemption will be stronger. When you have the 30%, the break-even point is target level 6. 40% shield and heal power. Target level 4 is when there's about a break-even between live redemption and previous redemption. And if you go for the full 50% shield and heal power and everything, like you're just straight up doing better from target level 3 onward, which it would be impossible to have redemption or all of that shield and heal power at that point. If you get to that 50% mark, your heal is going to be restoring 925 health to all level 18 targets and lower, going lower from there and everything. But that's Redemption, Ardent Censer, Windspeaker's Blessing, and then Mikhail's, which is 3 items, plus you're going to have boots, and plus you're going to have a Sightstone item. So that's a 5-item support build at that point in time. Like you're going to be getting that late if you get it at all.
So we're talking normal redemption rush on a Nami or something. Are we looking at the 30% shield and heal column then for most champions?
Yeah, Ardent Censer has gotten really, really popular to the point where a lot of supports had been rushing it for a stretch there. Just like the common thing I read was, I'm not sure if I'm good or if Ardent Censer is just really, really strong and nobody else realizes how strong it is, so I keep buying it. That's fun anecdotal quoting back and forth and everything, but it doesn't betray the fact that that item is really strong. So yeah, most supports are going to hit that 30% mark pretty quickly, and then they have to decide if they want to go for broke and get Mikhail's to bump up that healing as much as they possibly can, or if they want to itemize towards something else that isn't just basically bumping up Redemption's heal and then their own shields or heals.
So in comparison to that, because Locket got a change, I think that is the best way to have people look at this item. So Redemption is better as the later in the game as we go. The item gets better. Redemption does now with a traditional support build. Correct?
Sorta. It depends on how you're looking at it. I think the big thing is that the only people who are going to be rushing Redemption now are the people who are also taking Windspeaker's Blessing. But whereas Braum or Alistar was still putting, or Thresh, they were all still putting high priority on getting Redemption, they're not going to want to do that anymore because they're not going to be buying any other heal and shield power amplifiers. So the effective healing that you're getting from Redemption is a whole lot lower than you're used to. To counter that, I guess, were the changes for Locket of the Iron Solari. The big change here is that the shield strength was previously 70 to 665 based on the level of the recipient when determining the shield scaling. It's now down to 65 to 434, but it also scales with 2 to 36% of the caster's bonus health based on that person's level. And so I also crunched a bunch of math on that. And if you have the Veteran Scars Mastery, the Flat Health Seals, and Targon's Brace, you will have more health. You will have enough health that your shield will now be stronger than that Locket's shield will now be stronger than it was on patch 7.11. On patch 7.11, the max strength of that shield was 665 with 300 bonus health at level 18. The shield strength is 683. But again, the shield is stronger across the board because even if you somehow got Locket at level 1 and had 300 bonus health, your shield would be at 71 strength as opposed to 70 strength of the 7.11 Locket. Just across the board, this shield is going to end up being stronger. And hypothetically, if you just have the Mastery, the Veteran Scar Mastery, the Flat Health Seals, and then Eye of the Equinox. Eye of the Equinox and Knight's Vow. That'll put you at about 1100 bonus health. Your shield's strength at level 18 will be 971. Compare that to Redemption's level 18 heal of 925, and you now see that these items are very, very comparable in the amount of damage that they are able to mitigate. They are simply very different in how they go about doing so. Redemption Shield, like, I honestly, I think there's less room for error with Redemption Shield because you can usually tell when big damage is coming your way. And the support has to be in position to block the damage on the priority targets for that damage. Whereas with Redemption, you get to cast that, and then everybody has to sort of play around that area of effect. Either enemies are going to try to drive the opponent team out of that, or your team is going to be able to sort of endure long enough to stay in that area for a fight, assuming you're not using it as sort of a fight reset tool. But there is opportunity for your opponents to kill you while you're waiting for Redemption to land. So they both do similar things in theory, but in practice, like they both have very, very different use cases that are both really, really valuable.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I do know that tank supports are headed back into the meta right now, and that the enchanters and whatnot are starting to be edged out. And this Locket change does help with that. However, if we're looking specifically into like professional play, Redemption may still be the go-to because a lot of times Redemption is used as like a reset. They will siege down a turret, they will Redemption themselves, and then go back and start to siege some more. So it's better because it's permanent health, right? Like it's always the argument. It's permanent health better than temporary health. But if we go back and look at Locket, for example, what I think is really silly, and it's not the norm, but the scaling on it is so insane that like a Leona, when she gets to 36%, if she rolls in with Gargoyle Stoneplate and pops the active on 3 people, she can get upwards of like a 2700 shield on her team.
Yeah, it is an insane amount of shielding that can be done. And truthfully, the shield is only available for a window of time, and 2400 or however big that shield was and everything. It's just not realistic that any opponent is going to be able to deal that much damage in the window that the shield is up.
Because of that scaling, I'm wondering if, again, going back to that pro scene, if we still have enchanters taking Redemption, so does that mean we're going to start seeing Locket out of top lane then? So you can get both items on the same team?
I don't know.
Because it requires 2 different builds. Like you have to go for a certain build to get Redemption, and you have to go for a certain build to get Locket. So you can have 2 people on the same team do that. They just go for opposite builds.
But there's still synergy between Locket and that specific type of build. Like Locket benefits from plus shielding and healing power, and so I looked at those numbers, and with just 30%, for example, Locket's shield at level 18, if you only had Redemption. If you only have Redemption, so it's just the bonus healing. I'm sorry, the bonus health from Redemption. Locket's shield still gets up to 841, which is higher than it was previously. That's just from the shield and heal power.
I'm sure Ivern and Nunu are going to be popular with these items.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so basically, you can go for a Redemption build and still get Locket, and it still does a meaningful shield. But vice versa doesn't work so much because you'd be going bonus health, which bumps up your Locket, but it doesn't do much for Redemption.
Correct. It would be a case where I think in both cases, like the enchanters are going to focus more on getting the plus shield, the shield heal amplifiers first, and then they're going to go for a Locket later. Especially because they're not always in the fray in such a way that Locket can be used as ideally, we'll say. And I think the tanks are going to be getting Locket early, and then as like a 4th, 5th item, maybe 6th, but like as a later item, they're going to be looking at Redemption. Whereas previously, no matter who you were playing, it was always, Redemption first, Locket second, or Locket first, Redemption second. Like the items just were synergizing so well together, and they don't do that as well anymore.
I think there's this
kind of. I mean, it still sounds like Locket skills or Locket goes well with Redemption if you're going for that Redemption build.
It does, but that's
what kind of worries me here.
But so like a tank that rushes Redemption, the shield strength gets up to 9, 10 and everything, and that's really good for Locket. But the heal strength is only going to be at 431. Like
Right,
that's not nearly as good as what you were getting on live.
That's what I'm thinking of the opposite case where you've got an enchanter support who's going redemption and the redemption build, but can still pick up Locket because of the increased shielding that they get from their items.
Honestly, that doesn't change anything. They were already doing that.
Right. So, I mean, so this change doesn't really stop that from happening, which is what I thought they wanted to do. Maybe not.
What they were trying to stop was the case where every single support out there was buying both of these items. It wasn't necessarily about trying to make it so that enchanters weren't also buying Locket. It was trying to stop it from these being the first two items purchased no matter what the circumstances, no matter what champion you're playing.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little more nuanced than what you're arguing, but I see why you're coming from that standpoint and why it looks that way.
Yeah. All those numbers aside, I like the change on this quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to playing with the new Locket and seeing its use. But I'm not sure if the Locket redemption change really like molds the landscape of support so much as the fact that other supports or some of the supports and some of the other items are being nerfed, and that we're seeing we're seeing the move into more tankier supports because of that reason. Karma eats a nerf on this patch. Then Lulu ate a nerf previously. Brand, Vel'Koz are the outliers there, where they're always just kind of hanging out. So, and they weren't building redemption or Locket either way.
Yeah, I mean, it was, if anything, it was like a late pickup for them, and so they're affected by other stuff a little bit more. But I mean, these changes, they're kind of immune to changes focused on these items.
So if anything, we get to look at the two items now, and we get to, like you said, it's not an automatic pickup to go get redemption in every single person, and you have to look at what masteries you have, what items you're picking up, and what your team plans on doing in the game to decide what item you're going to buy. So it sounds like Locket might be kind of like the solo queue go-to now rather than redemption for a lot of people, just because more team fights happen to break out, and the instant shielding is more important than the permanent health that you're receiving.
It had honestly become that for me for a while at this point. For more or less, I had control over when the shielding came out, when it hit, and blocking the targets. I didn't have to rely on my teammates understanding that they needed to stand in that specific AoE in order to get the benefits of it. So that in some cases that means people just being inattentive to their environment, and in other cases it meant like the team putting up a fight to try and keep the opponent from pushing them out of that area. There's just a lot of play around that, and Adam, you mentioned what goes on in pro play, where they use that as sort of a fight reset. That opportunity isn't available as frequently in solo queue, just because you don't have that type of communication.
Right. Well, boys, we finally come full circle after 10 years. First, it was don't stand in the AoE. Now it's stand in the goddamn circle and don't move.
Stand in the circle.
Stand in the circle.
Well, that is Locket and Redemption. Let's talk a little bit about the Athene's unholy grail as the major change in this, other than the ability power, cooldown reduction. Well, cooldown reduction has been halved, by the way. It's been down to 10%. Ability power has been dropped down to 10. Mana regen has been increased to 100%.
Dropped by 10 to 30.
No, it's been dropped down to 10. Cooldown reduction on Athene's is now 10.
No, the ability power has been dropped.
Oh, yeah. Ability powers. Did I say it's been dropped to 10?
You said it was dropped to 10.
I meant to say it was dropped by 10. So
yeah.
Yes, ability power is 30 now. Cooldown reduction is 10%. The blood earn rate has been increased by 5% to 25%, but there is a new new passive on this that now grants 5 ability power for every 25% base mana regen that you have. It no longer grants 25 base health regen for every 25% base mana. So supports that are picking up Athenes, such as Karma, for example, are now gaining extra ability power by having this item and others in their inventory.
I mean, like as an aside, I feel like Morgana benefits from this more than anybody. But what I like about this item, like this set of changes, is that they are saying, I mean, and Riot was pretty clear about it in their description and everything, but it's now an item that they want you to get like as a third or fourth pickup instead of in the original design, which kind of felt like you were supposed to rush it, but it never felt good to rush it. So you what were you supposed to do all along there? Getting this item third or fourth is going to be it's going to feel pretty good, I think, for a number of champions out there. I kind of crunched some of the ability power ratios with Eye of the Watchers. If you have Athenes, with Eye of the Watchers, you're gonna between the two, you'll get 30 bonus ability power. Ardent Sensor would add another 10, and Redemption would add another 30 bonus ability power. So there's up to 70 available just from those 4 items. And that's a pretty reasonable 4-item build, and pretty attainable, I think, in a lot of games. And so Punch, we were talking earlier about Locket and everything. This is sort of where the calculated decision would be. Do you want to go for the AoE shield and the security granted by Locket, or do you want to try to pump up your damage and, frankly, your shields, heals, and the rest of your abilities?
Damage every time.
By going for Athenes. But, I mean, it'll also mean that Karma and Janna and Morgana are now adding some heals to Black Shield or the other shield, the other shit that's going out there and everything, and that's not something you should ignore.
Dude, I'll eat my hat if Sona's play percentage doesn't increase and her win rate stays the same, right? Like I'd say her win rate would increase, but it's already at 53% with a 5% play rate. So let's assume that people get hip to the fact that Sona is really good, and now she's even better because thanks Athenes. And
funny part is I don't even think Athenes is that good for her.
It would be fantastic now that you're gaining extra ability power through mana regeneration. This is a direct buff.
That part I think is really, really good for her, but the heal part of it I think is really bad. She just doesn't deal. I'm sorry, she's using the charges too quickly to make the heal bonus be meaningful, and she doesn't have any control over who gets healed.
It heals the lowest target, doesn't it? So yeah, she doesn't have necessary, or she doesn't have access.
Yeah, the lowest target isn't necessarily who you want to be healing every single time.
I just think this goes really well for like a third or second item Sona mid. Like that is what's been seeing a lot of. It's been seeing a lot of play. It's a lot of cheese. It's a lot of one tricks playing it. But like this, they've been nerfing every other support, and Sona's just sitting there right on the cusp. I just have this feeling that Sona is going to start barreling back into solo queue here shortly.
First thing they'll change then is that cooldown shit on her ult.
No, what gaming?
Guaranteed.
Oh, everything else
guaranteed.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how what changes this makes. They did nerf Karma in this patch because they knew that Athene's was coming in, nerfing her E, the amount it shields.
I am excited about this Athene's change. I think like that item looked a lot more appealing to me, and it's an item I always wanted to like, and just couldn't. I mean, and I liked it more last season, but with Redemption around and Locket being the way it is now, I couldn't get behind that item the way I used to, and I'm really optimistic about this that it changes now. And again, I feel like Morgana comes out ahead more than anybody else here.
Well, let's talk about Zeke's convergence. It was Harbinger. It is now Zeke's convergence as they've gutted the item and changed it once again. It no longer adds Twinkle Strike and all that to the AD carry.
If you didn't know what it did before, you're probably not going to know what it does now.
This item is a terrible solo queue item. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. It's a fucking awful solo queue item because the item now builds out of Aegis of Legion, Glacial Shroud, and 400 gold. It was double Amplifying Tome.
As an aside, I really like that. I like that they're adding more options for people who are building Aegis, because in most cases, most supports are getting a pretty early Aegis these days, and that might change now with the Redemption stuff, and people are going to focus on different things. But I like Aegis having a lot of different build paths, right. And so that specific change, I really am a fan of.
Dude, I just don't like this item anymore, right? Like, it gives you tons of armor, which is great. So if you're melee,
you didn't like it to begin with, though.
Yeah, it's trash now too, in my opinion. I think it needs a little bit more buff, but still, you get 60 armor, 30 magic resist, 10% cooldown reduction, 250 mana, and now whenever you cast your ultimate, you surround yourself with a frost storm that ignites your allies' basic attacks for 10 seconds. Those basic attacks, enemies inside your frost storm, so anyone around you, is slowed by 20%, and your allies' attacks burn their target 50% bonus magic damage over 2 seconds. Where
that could be good with Jhin.
You don't even notice it with Jhin. Like, I was watching streams earlier today, and a couple people built it, and they sold it pretty much right away, because by the time that you had this item, the extra damage that you were gaining wasn't enough to be meaningful.
But Pwn, there's more.
What?
There's more. There's more to the passive. If you basic attack, then you increase the burning damage. Or rather, your Frost Storm now starts to deal bonus damage, 40 magic damage, and the slow increases.
I just don't like that that's a dot, because the dot gets reapplied every single time you attack, so you're not getting the full damage of the dot. You're just getting a tick of it every single time that you attack. So yeah, you're getting an extra 50% bonus magic damage with each auto attack that you do. And I would rather they just make it a strict. I get you every time you attack, you gain 40. I don't know what 20 true damage or something.
So am I reading this correctly? That basic attacking a burning enemy ignites your Frost Storm, meaning the entire AOE thing, the entire thing turns into an AOE 40 dealing 40 damage per second. Okay, well, I mean, that's interesting, but ultimately, like that storm's going to show up and then everybody's going to run away. Like, that's going to be the end of the fight, and now the support has wasted his or her ultimate.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is
it probably won't be used like that. It'll probably just be like a bonus on top of, like, after you do happen to use your ultimate, hopefully you can use that passive to just set up or close out the fight from there.
What I identified earlier, 9 champions who this might be good on. I mean, because there are a number of champions who can't use this because the storm appears locally, so it's around the support, which means that Soraka, for example, who doesn't want to be in the middle of the fight, is not going to be able to use this at all. It's going to otherwise create a storm around her, and that's basically useless. Janna, if she's in the middle of the fight, it's because she's about to press R and knock everybody away. So there is literally opposition there. So there are, and even Leona is often using her ult from range, and so that would mean like the storm is not going to be where the targets that she is going for are. She's
going to follow up though, like right after usually.
Yeah, but the storm's not following.
It doesn't follow your character?
I didn't get the sense that it did. If it does follow, then that's a very, very different set of that's a very different case. But I got the sense that the storm more or less stayed in the same spot. Do we have anybody? Anybody know?
Every time I ever saw it used, it was just used middle team fight, and you didn't really fucking notice it. It was just I think it did follow the person though.
Oh, if it follows the person, then Leona's going to use it, and I'm not going to go through my list of champions because I have to rethink everything.
But then again, it was just nothing.
It's okay. No, it's good to know.
It was just at the. I just think I think the problem comes with this item. I understand what they're trying to do with Zeke's, and it makes sense. They're trying to bolster your teammates, but at the point that you would be able to buy this item, that the damage isn't significant enough to make you want to purchase the item any earlier than a 4th or 5th item, because there's too many other support items or even just normal items out there that would do more for your team. Even keeping your team alive, your entire team alive, with an addition, like let's say you bought Gargoyle's Stoneplate as Leona instead of this. We go back to that where I'm suddenly shielding my team for 2,000 life. Like, that's more important than adding an extra 50% damage, because more people are doing damage during that than just people that are around Leona.
That I do agree with. You know what I think would be cool? I think it would be a very interesting change if, like, igniting the Frost Storm applied Grievous Wounds, and then this could be like a potential counter.
It would be so nice for supports to have a way to put Grievous Wounds onto targets.
Yeah, it'd be
like Morellonomicon is not a cost-effective thing for a support to get, and most supports are not going to be looking at an Executioner Calling item because that's a waste of an item slot.
Like, do you feel like that would make it worth it?
It makes it interesting, and it's something they could look at for doing this. I think this has potential to be a good item. I don't think it's good enough as it is right now, and a big part of that, I'm always not going to be happy with with how it's tied to using the ultimate, but I still like this a lot more than I liked old Zeke's. Old Zeke's, there was so much critical strike in the game that the only time old Zeke's was good is if we were in a lethality-heavy meta. Because then the AD carry wasn't really buying critical strike, and so you could pump up their damage by getting Zeke's, and it was like, oh, hey, free bonus. But in most cases, like, Zeke's was just putting you over the cap, so instead of, like, 1 out of every 4 hits missing, none of them were going to miss, and, like, that rarely was meaningful. And then beyond that, it was really easy to blow your the Zeke stacks just because like a minion wave came up when you happen to be at 100, and then hey, now it's on cooldown and you have to restack it, and look, the fight broke out and we didn't have it available.
I just want to mention that there was at least one rank game where I had a Janna who gave me the shield with the big AD and the Zekes on Garen, and since his E can crit, it was just sick nasty.
It was the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah, dude, I was just like super hard carry that match because like our AD would like super shut down, so the port was like just help Garen.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
You feed the person who's already fed or who's most powerful, and if it's the Garen, let's make his E crit.
Garen.
I did something that I
give you Knight's Vow every time we play together, and I have it.
Marine, as a quick, just for a quick question for you, watching you stream the other day, you probably talked about this in the Champions League podcast. Actually, when you're using Tiamat during the E, it doesn't cancel the E, right? But you get the extra auto attack in.
Yeah, it doesn't cancel the
it's
spin.
The weirdest thing to ever see, by the way, because he's spinning and then Tiamat looks like it cancels it, so he stands there and he does a normal auto attack while the spinning animation is still going around him, but he's still spinning. It's just like a weird animation glitch.
Well, he once told me nothing cancels the spin.
It's pretty cool too. So like he's got that armor shred, so I like to wait for the armor shred from the spin to be applied and then use Tiamat for big damage.
I like to play Tom Pinch and then while you're spinning, pick you up and run around with you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I still deal damage through the Tom Kench thing. That's pretty funny.
Well, let's talk about Raptor Cloak just really quickly. The price point armor is down, essentially. The armor is 30, the price point is now 900, and it builds out of Rejuvenation Bead and Cloth Armor rather than Rejuvenation Bead and Chain Vest, allowing you to get it sooner. You were primarily building this in the ZZ Rot because Homewrecker wasn't really an item you were building. Just so you guys know, it might be a little easier for you to pick up ZZ Rot as a champion.
I mean, it's noteworthy now that Raptor Cloak also builds into Banner of Command. So now there are at least two items that you can look at as far as this. I really like Raptor Cloak. I would have been excited as hell about this change prior to midseason because Raptor Cloak's in Talisman as well. But the Ancient Coin quest line sucks ass, and now I'm just like bummed.
Says every solo queue player, but every LCS player loves Ancient Coin because the games that allow them to build that item, and just about every support is taking Ancient Coin.
Yeah,
I just want to mention that removing the mana and adding health regen on Banner of Command opens it up to being useful top lane for some characters.
My problem with Banner of Command is that it seems like it has an identity crisis. Like, it gives you a lot of armor, and it gives you all these siege tools and everything, but then it makes the minion immune to magic damage.
Yeah, that's all right.
What's the item trying to accomplish there?
Well, that actually kind of makes sense. Like the point
it doesn't
of
make
that
any
is
sense to me.
It's so that characters can't just use abilities to clear the minion. Like most wave clear.
Right, I mean, I get that part
clear.
of it and everything, but the item is otherwise geared towards beating.
Well, it's just supposed to make your siege
damage
stronger.
Yeah, it just makes it just harder to take. You either have to, yeah, I get it, because you get a ton of armor, so then you're really strong, and then you make the other person the opposite of it. So at least one of you is beating down on a tower, and it makes your siege stronger. That's the whole point of it. It makes you both tanky in a regard.
It's giving you armor and point runner, so you can dive the turret. Easy.
I do like that. That item might be a lot better. I wonder if we're going to see more ZZ Rot banner builds coming out of top lane again.
I don't know.
It's
Sure,
cheap.
I'd probably say
really
no,
cheap.
because the top lane's not really dominated by tanks right now, so probably not. Not until tanks really come back to the top lane. With Knight's Vow Knight's Vow has a change as well. Kindle Gem Chain Vest 700 gold. It was Crystalline Bracer Chain Vest 850 gold, and now also grants you 10% cooldown reduction for buying this item.
That's a good change.
Great change. Braum likes this change.
Every tank likes this change, and
Yeah.
Cooldown reduction was becoming weirdly hard to come by as a tank, and I say that like previously thinking that cooldown reduction was the most ample stat in the game, but it was just like the way Redemption warped things and the way you were building stuff, it was hard to come by CDR for a minute there, and so this is a nice pleasant change, especially because people wanted this item too.
Let's talk about Righteous Glory real quick. It was Catalyst of the Aeons Crystalline Bracer, and they finally removed Catalyst of Aeons from the build path, thank God. It is now Glacial Shroud Crystalline Bracer, 950 gold. So you don't have to feel bad for buying that Catalyst of Aeons later in the game when you're level 13, 14, and it's harder to gain levels at a point. You no longer can use the passive effectively, which I really, really like. Health has been gone down to 400. There's now 30 armor on it, which is even better. Olaf, hello. Cooldown reduction 10%. And now the Slow Nova automatically triggers if an enemy champion is within close proximity.
This item still has mana, right?
Yes.
Rip on, dude. I'm waiting for the day Garen can buy this item without feeling like shit. It would really be perfect on him.
Just buy it anyway.
I'm really excited for this because now when playing Alistar, I feel like I have a movement speed item that I want to get again. I hate the Ancient Coin quest line so much, and even having that item feels bad in lane, in my opinion. And now having and beyond that, the shield from the Relic Shield line is so good that's why that's the other reason why Ancient Coin just feels so bad. But having this big movement speed go button available to me again is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I like this. I like this quite a bit. I like that they finally have pushed toward supports and tanky top lanes. Once again, I don't like having this item engaged on me, but I like having the option to be able to buy this. I miss Shurelya's quite a bit. So, welcome back, Righteous Glory. May you be seen in more games as I would like you to be seen. To talk about all these items, we didn't talk about Glacial Shroud, as the combined cost has gone down to 250 gold and the total cost is down to 900 gold. The armor has eaten 5 off of that, down to 20. So that changes Iceborne Gauntlet, Frozen Heart. The combined cost has now increased just a little bit.
So that their total cost can remain unchanged.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah. Frozen Heart and Glacial Shroud, Frozen Heart and Iceborne Gauntlet, for all intents and purposes, are the same as they've always been.
Just a little extra gold to combine them together, but it's easier to get Glacial Shroud.
Yeah.
Still good. No reason to buff them because you all know what happens when Iceborne Gauntlet becomes too good. Everyone and their mother buys it.
Hello, Echo.
You have to play Poppy every game.
Yeah, sure. That's one person.
That is, well, I guess we have Talisman of the Ascension. Cost down to 2,200 gold. Combined cost up to 450
Still bad.
gold.
Don't care.
All right. Dom says it's bad.
I'm so salty about that item.
I loved that item, and then they added that fucking quest, and they changed the mana regen on it and everything, and now I hate it.
So do we talk about champions now? Do we get to the fun part of this?
I thought we did the fun part, and I think we're going to the boring part.
Yeah, this actually is the really boring part. Camille getting a change in this patch. Passive adapted defenses has been decreased. It was 20-15-10. It's now 16-13-10. Precision protocol delayed second hit damage now up to 200%. Punchinello, are we playing Camille again?
I'm certainly willing to give her a try. I'm excited for Knife Legs, but this certainly helps her laning phase, but the biggest problem she still has is wave control. So, yeah, you can go aggressive more often since its passive is on a lower cooldown, but if you don't have control of the wave and you're diving into enemy minions, that's still a bad idea. You're still going to lose that trade. But hey, 20% damage back on Q, that's pretty huge.
I don't think Camille needed this buff, honestly. I think she was strong already. She dominates in a lot of games still. It's really important not to miss your combo, but having those longer cooldown on the shield was important because when it's 20 seconds, there's enough time there to have a trade and wait for cooldowns to come back and then trade again before the shield is back up. But at 16, that's pretty close to borderline. Camille can just wait out the very short period after the initial trade to wait for it to come up now. And that really tips the scale of the long you know what I mean? The long lane, the long game in the inside lane phase. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you double on top of that with the fact that Doran's ring has now been changed, so Gragas and Galio have less pressure in the top lane and less mana for rebuttal, making Camille automatically better during those phases where they would come back with that extra life and mana regen. Camille just was pushed up a couple pegs with these changes, so I would be really excited to see her come back in the top lane.
She's not even struggling Like she's not struggling. She's just not played as much as she was at launch and everything. This seems like
Dom. Shh.
This is too much.
Enough. Shut it.
All at once and everything. Just like do incremental shit with this champion and everything. You don't need to give her everything back. And
20, no, we need more than 20% buff on Q. It's not enough.
No. God damn it. God damn it. I'm with Todd.
Now I know why Punch was all optimistic.
I'm with Todd. I agree with Todd.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, her lightning phase is the weakest part, and just by buffing that, they're playing a dangerous game, right? Her mid game is very powerful. Her late game is still really strong, and then her lightning phase is supposed to be her weak point. And if you can't beat her during that, then you're playing with fire. You're gonna have the old Camille back.
Well, what about fire with Jax? As W empowered strikes now grants Jax an extra 50 range when he has W activated.
This is a big deal because like what happens when you trade in lane against Jax is, he's an auto attacker. So like unless he's used his stun to land his auto attacks or he's used his Q, those are the only times he should be able to get free autos. Like he can get 2 free autos after a stun or after he Qs to you. Unless you choose to fight him. But this bonus range makes it so he can get a 3rd auto more reliably. So a 3rd auto more reliably means pretty much every trade now, he can guarantee an alt proc, even if he wasn't able to ramp anything up on minions before, and you do the trade correctly, pretty much. So that's a big deal, because it just means Jax has more guaranteed damage, and that can swing matchups post 6.
That rotation for Jax would be what, Moon? He engages with Q or E, then uses an auto attack and then immediately resets it with W?
Yeah, either open with E if they're already in melee range, or you would open with Q if you were trying to force that trade from a distance. And
Key being that you don't augment your Q with W.
Yeah. If you do that, then you lose the auto reset, and that's a big no-no because your stun only lasts just long enough to get those autos in. Like if they start running away, then you lose everything that this buff would have then given you.
I'm looking forward to our Jax Camille top laners coming back.
Ugh, I hate it when Jax is not fun to have in games regularly.
Well, good thing we have 10 bans.
Good point. But I have to ban Thresh, man.
Jax is one of those heroes that people aren't afraid of banning if he starts.
That's true.
Somewhat good.
Right. Let's talk about Heimerdinger, the last top laner in this patch to get a change. It's also Zyra as well. Heimerdinger and Zyra must now actually fire a basic auto attack to command turrets or plants to focus a target. So I'm assuming you can't cheese it with a wind up to get the things to target them.
I can't speak to this from the Heimerdinger standpoint, but I did play a fair bit of Zyra last season. And at one point, they changed it so that you had to attack something in order for her plants to target that thing. And the problem, I noticed the fact that you could basically animation cancel or queue up the attack even sometimes what felt like outside of range, and then the plants would start attacking it. It didn't always feel like they had fixed what they said that they were going to, and now you actually have to fire the missile, it reads. You have to be in range, and I think this hits Zyra pretty hard. I can't speak to Heimerdinger because I just never played that champion, but I think this hits Zyra a lot harder than people are expecting it to.
Hits anybody that was abusing it, which probably the majority of people were not abusing it unless they were.
I bet they were abusing it without realizing they were abusing it. That's what I think is happening.
So just keep on the lookout there, Zyra and Heimerdinger mains. Actually, I lied when I said that was the last because Rumble got a change in this patch. So this change on Rumble, it upsets me, right? Because what they did is they've done a lot to Rumble. The passive, the heat decay start time is now 4 seconds. The heat decay rate is now 1 second, and the heat decay amount is 10 per tick, meaning you decay more quickly, essentially, if you have it. You lose more heat. The Flame Spitter damage is up overall. However, the cooldown has been increased It was 6 seconds at all ranks. It is now goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So while the damage that you get is more, you can't use it at level 1 to get to your 50% heat anymore because of the 10-second cooldown. So therefore, it kills his 1 to 3 trades in lane quite a bit. Like it hurts him and his ability to push and his ability to out-trade the opponent because he can no longer sit in that danger zone reliably. And it also, by the way, this kills Jumble Rumble, or Rumble in the jungle Rumble, whatever you want to say it. It like completely murders the fuck out of him. Scrap shield duration's 1.5 seconds rather than 2. Base shield has been increased to make up for that, up to 80 to 200, and harpoon damage has been increased.
Rumble, I always felt like scrap shield was never as strong as I wanted it to be. And so this little bump to it might actually have me feeling like, oh, hey, okay, this feels okay. This is what I want it to be.
It's also a slightly lower duration for your movement speed increase, though, too.
Can I be really honest and say that this change to his Q cooldown was severely overdue?
Dude, yeah, the champ has needed a lot of this shit for a long time.
Thank goodness.
Rumble is one of my most hated characters. You asked me before the show, Dom, what my top 3. I forgot Rumble existed until we went over the patch notes. Rumble is definitely like number 2 on that list.
That's so sad. I got so much free LP with Rumble and so many free 5v5 wins by playing Rumble on top lane because he was just so much fun to play and it did so much damage. This I'm so sad. This hurts me. This hurts me deep down that they made it so that. Like, you look at it, you're like, yeah, Q is doing a lot more damage, but, like, you can't get to his 50% mark anymore. Easily. And that sucks. When that's, like, such a big identity and part of his kit is playing around heat and heat management.
I think what it forces you to do is it pretty much forces you to open up with E now. Like, you have to open with E to, pretty much, if you have no heat. But but you still have W and E you can spam, like, reliably. Like, I remember seeing some Rumbles who didn't use Q too much because they didn't want to shove wave, so they would just use W and E like almost every time they were up. And it seemed to work. I don't know if that carries over, obviously, because there's a lot of changes, so we'll see.
Yeah, that Q nerf, he desperately needed that nerf on Q's cooldown. That was obscenely slow.
He didn't.
Or fast, I should say.
Well, the thing that I do agree that it sucks that he can't like stack his heat early, but the other side of that coin is that he was like a character who played in lane like he had a whole bunch of CDR already, even though he had none.
Right.
And it was ridiculous depending on.
Yeah, but Q was always up. Q was always up.
There was never an opening to trade with them because he always had all of his abilities ready. Namely Q.
Yeah, and that to me is like a problem. Like I don't think the damage was crazy. It's just that he was never weak. There was never a window of weakness.
But by the time you had recovered from the damage, and you were ready to even think about going back in on him, he had cast Q, and then Q was ready to go one more time.
Well, they were trying to balance that around his heat and overheating. That's where that all came from. But unfortunately,
when people figured out if you just press it every time it comes off cooldown and you just chill like that. You just don't overheat,
you deal more damage as a result.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of those other changes as we have a few more to go through. Ivern got a change at the go up here to him. Trigger Seed has been nerfed because of Athene's unholy grail. And no big deal. Ivern probably needed the change. If you guys,
this hurts him early.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's a big chunk of damage at the end.
10 damage. That hurts him early.
50 is a lot late. I mean, but whatever.
He's not rushing Athene. He's still going to be looking redemption first, and he's got a jungle thing to look at.
It's the same thing as Zach, right? Anyway, I'm just going to jump down here to Zach. They took 10 damage up to 30 they took 10 damage across excuse me. 20. They took 10 damage off his unstable manner. And then they took 20 damage off Elastic Slingshot. This change doesn't fucking matter at all. Like they could,
it does matter.
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. It changes nothing about it.
Matters early.
No, it doesn't. It literally does not. 20 damage off Slingshot means nothing because Q is so absurdly overpowered right now.
I agree
they could remove 30 damage off Q and he'd still be fucking amazing to play. He'd still be awesome because he does so much absurd amount of damage to the rest of his kit that focusing on WD doesn't matter.
I agree that this doesn't take him out of ban prison. I'm just saying, like, this does. I mean, it does affect shit. Like, that is a lot of damage.
They're AOE abilities, both, right? So, like, the time it matters a lot is when you're hitting multiple targets with your E and then following up with W right after. Like, that's like a collective couple hundred damage you're shaving off of a team fight. You know, if like Zeke gets a good engage like game, so it can matter a little bit.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. He's still fucking ban worthy. But that's pretty much the, like, I say that, and it's across the board with these changes. Kindred, for example, they're finally doing what I've asked them to do the last time. They're giving her 3 more basic attack damage, and they're reducing the cost of mounting Dread down to 50 mana while increasing Wolf's frenzy speed up to 1400 from 1200, and she needed this to push her in the right direction. Now, in my opinion, I think this is a good spot to keep Kindred for a little bit and see where people play around it, because she just needed a tiny bit of boosted damage out of the jungle to be able to clear it a little faster, be able to start ganking and getting her marks.
So the Wolf's frenzy speed, is that how long it takes Wolf to get to where she casts the ability?
It's
how long it takes him to dash to that spot?
It's how long it takes him to dash to do the damage. Or no,
Kindred
he's
and
faster.
Rek'Sai aren't last anymore.
Oh, hooray.
Yeah.
Shogunat is last.
So, yeah, Rek'Sai, speaking of, it got a change as well. Base attack damage has increased to 57.5. Armor growth 3.75 from 3.4, which is a pretty significant amount to give Rek'Sai. Burrow, unburrow, the ratio doubled to 0.8 bonus attack damage. And Void Rush is now much harder to dodge, which is what I think everybody and their brother screamed about. Like, she was great. I think a lot of people said everything about her kit's pretty good. I think she does really well, but Void Rush being dodgeable fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And you can still dodge it with a flash or a arcane shift or whatever, but you shouldn't be able to walk out of it.
Just take a little stroll
Take a
to
little
the
stroll.
right.
Yep.
Mosey,
is that
out of
Rek'Sai
a
again?
I would like to see
there
some-
went Rek'Sai. Shit, guys.
Yeah, we've talked about Rek'Sai. I like these changes. I think I hope to see her win rate skyrocket quite a bit, because I think she's in a really good spot, and as long as Void Rush is harder to dodge, she should see an increase. It's also forcing the community to actually play the champion and try to change how they're playing the champion instead of playing it like they previously played.
I still think she's being built wrong in a lot of cases. I think that's what's really holding her down right now. When people get off this, oh, we can just build her full tank and she'll still be great attitude, you're going to see her start perform a lot better.
Malzahar, by the way.
Oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, Malzahar.
What happened to Malzahar?
He basically had damage nerfs on Q and R, because he was really good on one patch, and then they nerfed him because they over-tuned it to get him away from support. He was too powerful.
So good.
TLDR, he's just a little weaker than he was before. Nothing to write home about. If you're playing Malzahar and you find success, you continue to find success with it. Why is it that I have a really hard time finding some of these champions in this list on the right-hand side, and you have like Lissandra? Is that because this is a bug fix, Dom?
Yeah, it's a bug fix.
Lissandra.
But that's a big bug fix.
Frozen Tomb no longer fizzles if a spell shield affecting her is broken within 0.25 seconds of cast start. So if somebody else breaks Banshee's Veil and she's casting at the same exact time, she still gets her ultimate off.
Like, it was a reasonably frequent case for a Lissandra player.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely.
For your ult, I mean, that's huge.
Corki seeing some changes in this patch. Base attack speed has been increased. Base attack damage has been increased by 2. His passive is now doing 80% magic damage, 20% physical damage. They're really just trying to bump him back down into bottom lane where he can abuse his passive. But I think as long as itemization sucks ass and he has his passive as the package, he's a mid laner. But by making it 80% magic damage, this actually makes him a worse mid laner than it did previously. So I don't know if this actually pushes him anywhere other than thanks for the buffs.
I kind of wonder if this puts him in a weird position to deal with the Ziggs really well now. Not that we're seeing a ton of that, but
if his mana costs were lower. It's like fucking,
yeah, I mean,
it's
I
like
don't know, like
60
that's
mana or some shit for Q. It's stupid.
that's the only thing I can really think of. Like, I want to be optimistic about this because in theory, I like Corki as an AD carry when you have AD heavy teams, but we would need to see more assassins coming out of mid lane. We've already got a good number of fighters coming out of top. Like Corki would synergize great with that, dealing that little bit of magic damage burst that you want, and then shredding the shit out of opponent armor. But I don't think this is good enough to push him back into a bot lane AD carry primary role.
No. That's like I said earlier today, Dom, is that spell slingers, marksman spell slingers, itemization just sucks giant donkey dick right now. And it always has. Unless your name is Lucian and you had Blade of the Ruin King. By the way, something they changed in this patch is that Blade of the Ruin King and Black Cleaver, before Black Cleaver was getting stacked twice, because it was getting stacked once through Blade of the Ruin King and once through an auto attack. So if Lucian attacked, he was getting 2 stacks of Black Cleaver. They fixed that. It no longer happens that way. So there you go. If you were abusing that bug, you can't abuse it anymore.
Oh.
Jhin gets a change in this patch as well, which actually means jack all shit. Thanks for
He's back, right? He's back.
Thanks for the Q damage. It doesn't fucking mean anything because you were just using Q to clear waves, and by the time they
I mean, you actually start CSing properly.
it doesn't do anything. Curtain call extra damage. Curtain call extra damage on Jhin is nice, and I think I like this for level 6 because there has been a lot of times where you'll land 2 or 3 shots, especially that 4th, and you won't kill them. This potentially could kill them and help you with your snowball a little more, but he still suffers from all the other things he suffered from previously. The fact that lethality sucks ass and Blade of the Ruin King is really good. Xayah.
And DFT got nerfed.
Yeah.
And that DFT got nerfed.
Xayah getting a change, a Q change. Xayah can no longer basic attack while double daggers is firing, which is pretty gigantic. And deadly plumage, the cooldown has been increased to 20 from 16, so that goes down to 16 seconds. Xayah seeing the nerfs because she's the only AD carry right now that can reliably stun a bunch of people through basic abilities. And the fact that she does fucking insane amount of damage. Anything else? I know I'm kind of rolling through
But I'm surprised it's W that ate the nerf there and not Blade Caller her E.
To reduce the damage of Blade Caller? Or increase the cooldown of it? And
yeah.
Her steroid was just dumb. She just had it up so often she could push everything and do a ton of fucking damage.
I agree. I'm just surprised that was the one that they looked at first when Blade Caller is something that's really, really strong.
Right. We already mentioned it. Karma's shield has been decreased, and the shield on secondary targets is down to 30% of the primary target shield from 50%. And this is all in response to Athene's getting a buff.
I mean, Karma's already struggling in the game right now. She's picked a lot, and she's not performing that well. Performing reasonably well in professional play. Lulu's doing like unbelievably bad at pro play, but I don't know. I think the support meta has shifted away from Karma at this point, and some of these changes, like the changes this patch, might help her a little bit. But I'd be surprised if she was suddenly queen of the supports again.
She won't do shit. Removing a shield without having the extra items back it up means quite a bit, especially on a bottom lane. And the very last change that's meaningful in this patch is that Rakan, his passive now properly benefits from effects that modify healed and shield values. So, there you go.
Yeah, I what I hate about that change is that they had a different set of buffs on him to make the cooldown on E a little bit shorter, and I was really excited for that. And then they realized that shield and heal modifiers weren't affecting his passive, so they pulled that one and fixed his passive so that it worked properly. And so now we get to play a patch to see if that was enough for him. They'll take real nice short incremental changes with Rakan, but they won't do it with Camille.
Swinging it back around to 20 minutes ago. That's the Dom philosophy.
I know Rakan's pretty good.
Here you go, Punch.
I'm dumb.
Here you go, Punch.
That's patch 7.12 of League of Legends for League of Legends. We, the Trinity Force podcast, because for some reason I was trying to say our name, have finally gone through patch 7.12 and finished it. Guys, are you all excited to go play on patch 7.12?
I am.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, dog.
You sound like it.
Todd never looks excited. If you ever watch like the live show, he constantly looks like he's bored out of his mind, but then he has fun when he talks, so I can never tell what his actual attitude is at any point in time.
I'm just a straight face kind of guy, you know.
He's just sad because it's been a half an hour since he's picked up his utility that's on his desk.
No, it's been longer than that. I count the minutes.
Well, we'll let Todd get back to his activities, and we will end the podcast here. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed our patch 7.12 discussion. Email us feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. We will see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Peace. Oh, have a great Father's Day, everybody out there. Sorry, everybody. Have a great Father's Day. I know there's a bunch of you out there listening. There's a great, you're all fathers.
Yeah. Go Fathers.
Later.
See you guys.
Fathers.
See.